Ladies and gentlemen, you are listening to Life Well Lived by Omobola Stephen. It's an engaging and enlightening talk show on life, relationships, and the business of life. Grab a cup of juice and just chill. Life Well Lived by Omobola Stephen. Live life. Live fully.
Welcome to Life Well Lived by Omobola Stephen. Now, in this season episodes, I need to reiterate this. We'll be focused on parenting, family dynamics. Now, we like to have discussions on such a topic like this because we are in a dynamic, changing times where we have both the school system and also the parents helpless, confused as to how they can better, navigate the terrain of parenting and also guiding and directing our children on the right path. We believe that when we have the right mindset, we improve the right mindset, and we begin to have a balanced male and female, both at home and also in the school system, the society can better benefit from it. Now, on today's show, I have Dr. Gloria Vanderhorst. She's the PhD and an author, psychologist, advisor, and mentor. Good to have you on the show, Dr. Gloria. I'm super excited about this meeting and looking forward as we explore on the topic simply about raising boys. Honor to have you once again.
Thank you. I'm very excited to be here. And this topic is key for the future for everyone. Whether you have a boy or not, you need to know about this so that you can support the people in your life who do have boys.
Absolutely. Thank you for that introduction, Dr. Gloria. You trained in emotion-focused therapy and internal family systems. Now, you also worked with preschoolers, mainly boys, because female teachers are distressed by boys than girls. So what led you to this conclusion, Doctor?
Well, I started my private practice and had a friend who ran a preschool. And so she naturally referred families to me when there was concern about the behavior or the learning style of any of the preschool children. And most of those were boys. And they're boys because preschools, by and large, are run by women. The teachers are women. And they have an expectation about the range of emotional expression that's acceptable. And boys have a broader range of emotional expression than girls do. That's not a negative, right? That should be a positive. But women are not comfortable with that range of expression. So boys can get more excited and they can get louder, more exuberant. They can also get more disappointed, more irritated, kind of more down. And because women are uncomfortable with that, then they're naturally going to talk to the parent. They're going to refer the boy out and want to identify, is there an attention deficit disorder happening here? Is there a mood disorder happening here? Is there a behavioral disorder happening here? And so those are kind of all of the things that started to fill my calendar, was evaluating preschool boys. And occasionally there would be a boy with attention deficit, but most of the time, these were healthy boys using the full range of emotional expression that they're born with. And just in a school situation where the teachers are not providing the support that's necessary. They're not really understanding this broader range of expression. And so these preschoolers actually educated me on what are boys all about. And that started my interest and curiosity about what are boys about? What are men about? And what are we doing as a culture to facilitate emotional development in our boys and men? And I will tell you, we're not doing such a hot job.
Doctor, yes.
So what we're actually doing is we are eliminating the emotional expression that's natural for boys. Boys come into the world with a broader range of emotional expression than girls do. And that's a shock for most people to really understand that boys have a broader range, all right? They can be more intense on the positive end, they can be more intense on the negative, and their range of expression is different from girls. And because most infants interact with females much more than males, though I will say that's changing, with women in the workforce, there is an increase of fathers staying home to raise children, and that's a real positive for boys. But women are not accustomed to the range of feeling experience that can happen for an infant boy. So when the boy goes higher, right, he gets more intense or he gets louder, he gets more expressive, the mother will make some subtle movement or facial expression that discourages that range of feeling. And so, because infants are brilliant, right? Their emotional intelligence is their survival mechanism. They come into the world with the ability to read emotional expression accurately. It's their survival mechanism. They have to be able to interpret the world around them. And so mother doesn't have to give any large reactions. Mother just has to go, or, withdraw a little bit, look away, in order to send the message that I'm not comfortable with that intense expression, whether it's intense on the positive end or intense on the negative end of the continuum. Mother shapes the boy's ability to access that full range. And so the boy narrows the range of expression that he uses. And then when boys start to walk, the rest of the culture does something really harmful. And that is that we communicate to boys that we don't want them expressing feelings on the negative end of the continuum. We don't want them crying. We don't want them whining. We don't want them complaining, right? We want them to be strong. We want them to be confident. We want them to be interested and curious. But all those softer emotions, we would like it as a culture if you just didn't travel into that territory. And this is such a harmful process, because then when they grow up to be men, we expect them to be able to access tenderness, understanding, their own sadness, and that is the key to developing healthy relationships with other women, with other men. But we have already trained them to ignore those feeling states. So if you look at the difficulty between men and women today and the increase in divorce and separation, you'll understand that we've actually set men up not to be able to have intimate relationships with another person, male or female. And that's just such a disservice to the society as a whole.
Comes to boy fatherhood relationship, how is the connection like?
It's very difficult then for a father to make a connection with a boy because we have narrowed the ways in which they can connect with each other, right? They can connect around sports. They can connect around competition, and that competition doesn't have to be physical. It could also be intellectual, all right? It could be father teaching son to play chess and having competitive opportunities there, or building robots, all right? There are wonderful clubs out there for boys to build machines and robots. So it could be a competition that isn't physical, it can be an intellectual competition. But there's not the opportunity for those two people to talk about deeper emotional experiences. So the boy who is nervous as a first grader and uncertain about whether the other kids in the class like him doesn't have a resource. The girl who is uncertain and not quite confident as a first grader is unsure about whether the other kids in the class like her. She can go home and talk about that. She can ask questions. Am I doing anything wrong? What do I do to get so and so to like me or to spend time with me? The boy cannot go home and seek that information. We've already told him through our verbal and nonverbal responses to him that he is not to seek emotional help of any kind.
Wow. Now,
Yeah,
this is really disturbing, Dr.
it is a
Gloria.
wow,
It's
right? It is a
disturbing.
wow. It just really stops you in your tracks when you really hear and reflect on that as reality. It is the truth. We limit the male's access to the full range of feelings, which means we set him up for a problem in adulthood.
Can we begin to have a reset in some way? Is it possible for us to begin to have this kind of conversation where we begin to reset, the old situation? Is it possible?
Actually happening, right? If you look at some of the books that have come on the market in the last 5 years or so, there are a lot of books about fathering. There are a lot of books that focus on this truth that we need to do a better job of fathering our boys and girls, but the focus by and large is on fathering our boys and helping them to maintain access to the full range of their emotions. I'm in the process of publishing a book that does the same thing, right? That looks at the history of how we have fathered boys and gives fathers good guidance and direction on how to make that shift. And it's critical that we do that. If you look at the number of men that are now in jails, you have to ask yourself, right? Why are the jails full of men? Why not women? Right? Don't women get in trouble? Don't women have difficulty? They do, but their emotional range of expression typically doesn't head into violence. But the male who doesn't have access to language to express his feelings is going to use his body to express his feelings, right? So he's going to be pushing, hitting, throwing things, putting fists into walls, and that gets you into trouble. So we do have to change the way that we socialize boys, and we have to do it pretty quickly, or we're going to be in bigger trouble.
Absolutely, a bigger trouble, you might say, Doctor. In this 21st century, what do you think parents should be emphasizing on, especially as it relates to toxic masculinity and screen time? It's also a tough work for parenting such time as this with this kind of situation.
I think there's a direct connection between the fact that we do not give boys full access to their emotional range and their use of screens. If you look at the stats about the use of screens, there are more male children spending longer time on screens than female children. So we have set them up emotionally to isolate themselves. And the best isolation is screen time. And some of these younger children in early elementary school, if they had their way, right, they would come home from school and they would be on screens constantly. So managing screens is a real challenge for parents today. I think one of the reasons that we have children also occupied in so many activities after school is in part to limit the access to screens, because if they're not busy in an organized activity, they're going to gravitate to screens. We really have robbed our children of the opportunity to do two things. One is to be bored. It's all right to be bored. And the other is to be creative, right? Is to figure out, okay, I am bored. So what am I going to do to get myself out of this funk of boredom and into a space of interest, creativity, curiosity? We have programmed our children, so there's really no opportunity for them to seek creative outlets. And so they're going to end up on screens. And once they're hooked on screens, it is really a serious addiction and very, very difficult to get young children to put the screens aside unless you just remove them completely. I know a few families who have just taken the screens and locked them up so the children can't have access to them, at least for a few hours in the course of the day, encouraging them to be more interactive with their siblings and with their parents and with their neighbors and their friends, and encouraging them to be more creative, to find ways to entertain themselves rather than be addicted to the screens. But you're right. All right. The use of screens, popularity of screens is a real problem for us long term.
Doctor, but really, the teenagers don't want to be creative. They don't want to, go out for play. They don't want to have this kind of conversation with you. They just like to internalize their feelings. Tough work, you say, doctor. Can we talk on this?
Yes. All right. So it's very common today that you will find two teenagers sitting next to each other. And it could be in any situation, right? They could be at Starbucks, they could be on the bus going home from school, they could be in school, sitting in the bleachers. They will be sitting next to each other, phone in hand. And guess who they're talking to? Who are they texting? They're texting the person who's sitting right next to them, right? They're not looking at that person. They're not talking to that person, but their thumbs are going like crazy, texting the person that's sitting next to them. Now, we know that 90% of communication is nonverbal. It isn't language. It's body posture, facial expression, color tone in the face, movement. These two are not looking at each other. They are not making eye contact ever. And that is so limiting in terms of social development. They really are not making an emotional or a social connection with each other. And I think long term, that will have a significant impact in terms of, just more people being distant from each other, being easily irritated with each other, getting into conflicts with each other, because we really have not used the full strength of communication. So I think our cell phones are going to cause lots of problems in the long run.
Absolutely, doctor. So are there any strategies, any tips? I'm just thinking, or any rules, guidelines that is available in raising boys?
Well, I think one of the things that I want to encourage everyone to know is that we really have limited emotional expression for boys, and we want to get that back, right? We want to encourage boys to recapture their capability of understanding themselves emotionally. And so here's one thing that I encourage families to do. I have 3 pages of lists of feeling words, and each page has 3 columns on it. So it's just filled with tons of feeling words. And so I asked families to make 3 copies of these pages, put one at the kitchen table, one in the living room, and one in the bedroom. And the reason for that is that even though we have cut off access to feeling states for boys, our brain still knows exactly what you're feeling. So you can't produce it, right? You can't find it in your brain just by saying, what feeling am I having now? But you can recognize it. So if you go through the list of feeling words and just scan it, they will jump off the page at you. You will be able to clearly find the feelings that you're experiencing right then. And then that lets you have access to talking about them. So you can't produce them, but you can recognize them because your brain is still brilliant. It hasn't lost access to any of those feelings. So your brain can identify, oh, that's what I'm feeling as a result of this experience that I just had. And then that gives you the freedom to talk to your parents about it, to talk to your siblings about it, to understand it yourself. And now you've just magically added a feeling word to your vocabulary and to your life experience so that you'll be able to identify that feeling the next time that it pops up for you.
So, what are some things that a son needs from his father?
Attention, time,
Mm.
right? So in order to make a connection with a boy who has been cut off from his feeling states, and the father has been cut off from his feeling states as well. So father has to become the leader in identifying feelings. That's why these lists are so helpful for adults, right? That they themselves can identify feeling states. They can talk to their sons about their own feeling states and increase the son's vocabulary and identify what experience has the son had that's triggered a similar feeling or a parallel feeling. So having conversations with your sons, setting time aside to intentionally focus on having feeling experiences and identifying feeling words is incredibly valuable. There are lots of ways you can do that too. All right. Typically, children will be more open if you are not facing them. So, rides in a car, for example, out for a walk, opportunities to sit next to each other rather than across from each other will encourage more conversation than face to face. After your child has really developed and expanded a feeling vocabulary, then you can do much more face-to-face interaction. But in order to get that started, you want to engage in actions that are parallel. So start these conversations in the car, go out for a walk, spend some time, you know, in front of the television watching a sports game, which has a lot of downtime in it, and use that for conversation.
Yes, easily said than done, Dr. Gloria. I'm sure you will agree with me on this. But really, we have the mothers highly connected to their sons. This is a reality. So how can we begin to change the narratives? We have the fathers who are super busy out there. As you just rightly said, this is a generational trauma, and we begin to deal with it when we begin to have this kind of conversation. So how can we change this narrative?
So you're really asking, how can we change the adult male, right? Because it's the adult male who needs to be informed. And clearly, one of the ways that we are now working on changing the adult male is writing books about fatherhood, and educating men about the importance of taking time to engage their son, not just to coach their son, right? Lots of fathers enjoy coaching their sons, but in that dynamic, father's the leader, the boy is the follower. And I want a dynamic where they're on an equal plane, where father is interested in the boy and the boy is interested in sharing information about himself. And so we do have to educate fathers that it is important, it is critical that they set time aside to engage their sons. It is so easy, quite often, right, for a busy adult, male or female, to work a long, hard day, come home and eat, and then go back into the computer or back into their cell phone, either to continue to do work or to escape, right? And play the games that are on your phone. So we have learned over time that we're reducing the opportunity for interaction between fathers and sons. So fathers have to be intentional. They have to see that this is important to understand their boys, to give their boys more opportunity to access feeling states and to regain knowledge about their own feelings, and to be able to trust that the older male in their life is really interested in all of them, which means the sadness, the disappointment, as well as the excitement and the triumph and the pride. We want to help the boy to access the full range of emotion, not just the positive end. Dads are good with the positive end. They need to get better with the negative end of feeling states, of legitimizing sadness and disappointment and longing to be different. So many times as a young boy, there is a longing to have a skill, to be more comfortable in some way, to be more successful in some way. So really appreciating and joining that longing, it is going to be incredibly helpful for their sons.
Are there signs to show that one, a person is parenting the right way?
Okay. All right. So one is in order to do a really good job of parenting, you need to examine your own history and how you were parented. Because typically, we either parent in the way that we were taught through our parents, or we parent in the opposite direction. So we really don't take the time to research what is parenting about and what skill set do I really need in order to parent. There is probably no other job that we go into where we go into a very important, intensely difficult job without any guidelines, without any preparation, or without any training. And so educating yourself is key. There are so many different ways that we can function as a parent. And there are good books out there on parenting. There are also good models out there. Look around, right? Look at the organizations that you participate in as an adult, right? Are there religious organizations, community organizations, neighborhoods? Identify people who are showing a really good skill set for parenting and have conversations with them. Be intentional about asking people, what is it like to be a parent? I remember a colleague of mine a long time ago who was considering having a child. And he asked me, we had a child at that point, and he asked me, what was it like? What changed in your life? How did having this baby impact the relationship that you had with your spouse? How did it impact the time that you devote to your work or to your community? He asked all of these really good questions. And I would encourage anyone who is considering starting a family to do that kind of research, to really learn from people who are experiencing parenting. What are the positives? What are the negatives? What are the processes that they've used? Where did they get any information? How did they educate themselves? What's been helpful and productive for them? It is possible to be thoughtful about becoming a parent and then to do that same process in the course of raising your children, right? Each year in each stage of development for your child is a new process. So talking to people who have moved from toddlers to elementary school, and what was that change like? elementary school to teens. What do I need to know now? How do I need to change the way that I interact with my child so I can continue to build a connection? You can use your community and your friends as good advisors. And there are also ways out there to take trainings on parenting. Many communities and civic organizations have trainings on parenting. There are some nationwide organizations that give training on parenting and how to structure for children, how to discipline children. There's opportunity for learning if you just look around and are serious about wanting to know, how do I become a better parent? The resources are out there. I just have to encourage you to take advantage of them, find them, and use them.
It's great having you, Dr. Gloria Vanderhorst, share your insights on today's topic. Do you have any exciting news, perhaps, if you have any?
I want to encourage everyone to do a deeper dive into your own history, into your own psyche, so that you're learning more about yourself. And one of the ways to do that is to get the journal book that I have published. It's called Read, Reflect, Respond, The 3 R's of Growth and Change. It's available on Amazon. And if you're a fan of local bookstores, you can walk into any local bookstore and they will order that for you any place in the world, actually. And it is a unique journal book because it has essays on one page and the facing page is blank. Most journal books have lines on the facing page and expect you to respond in terms of language. But we hold memories and information in other ways than language. We hold it in terms of pictures and we hold it in terms of action. So this blank page gives you the opportunity to draw pictures or just to use the act, right? The intensity. Maybe you need to scribble something really heavy marking, or maybe you need to be very light in your marking. That gives you information. Your brain is telling you something about your early experience in relationship to the particular topic that you just read about. And it gives you opportunity to do a deeper dive into understanding yourself. That's critical to being able to do an excellent job of parenting. The more you understand yourself, the better parent you will become. So I encourage you to get a copy of the book and to use it.
Right. Thanks for sharing that information with the audience. In getting the book, how accessible is it? Where are your social media handles and also your website along with that?
Yes, you can get the book on Amazon. And again, its title is Read, Reflect, Respond, The 3 R's of Growth and Change. You can also access it through my website, as well as many other resources on the website about different approaches to therapy, and all the blogs that I write are on the website. And the website is www.drvanderhorst.com. So it's www.drvanderhorst.com. And I welcome your comments, your feedback. You can contact me easily through that website.
Thank you, Dr. Gloria Vanderhorst, PhD and author, psychologist, advisor, and mentor. We had a great time talking about how we can raise boys, especially in this 21st century. Thank you for offering your expertise in this regard as we move forward in parenting our boys the right way. so that we can begin to have a saner society. I think parenting begins from the home. Thank you for having us share this important conversation at large, very important and very crucial for such time as this. Wish you best of luck in your book project and all the subsequent projects that you embark upon, Dr. Gloria.
Thank you very much. I have enjoyed being on your show, and I hope that everyone will take their parenting more seriously as a result.
Absolutely. I hope so. Looking forward to having such a conversation like this sometime in the future, Dr. Gloria. If you'd like to catch up with any missed episodes of the show, you can do so on any cross promotion platforms you bump into online, and do have a great time listening to professionals, thought leaders share their insight on topics or subjects that are related to personal development and self-improvement. I'm your host, Omobola Stephen, and I always need you to stay safe. I will talk to you soon. Thank you once again, Dr. Gloria. We really had a great time having this conversation.
Thank you. I've enjoyed.
Yeah, most honored.
If you enjoyed today's episode, make sure you subscribe and leave us a review.